January 27th, 1945, 11:32 a.m. outside Auschwitz, southern Poland. The wind cuts like broken glass across the snowfields, carrying the distant rumble of Soviet artillery. The 60th Army of the 1st Ukrainian Front advances in a long, silent column, rifles ready, breath freezing in the air like drifting smoke. Major Anatoly Shapiro raises his hand. The line halts. Up ahead, through the haze of winter frost, something emerges, a shape that doesn't belong on any battlefield. A gate, iron, stretched across rails disappearing into the mist, and above it, words that make no sense at all. Or bite matched fry. Work sets you free. Shapiro frowns. He knows German. But here, in this dead, colorless landscape, the phrase feels like mockery. A young private next to him whispers, "Comrade Major, is this a factory?" Shapiro doesn't answer, because something's wrong. There are no guards, no civilians. No movement, except the faint flicker of smoke curling from a building farther inside the complex. The men step forward, rifles raised, boots crunching through untouched snow. As they pass through the gate, the world seems to sink. To their left, long rows of wooden barracks, sagging like ribs of some dying beast. To their right, coils of barbed wire, twisted in shapes that look almost deliberate. And everywhere, an unnatural silence. Not the silence of peace. The silence of absence. Then they see him. A man, or what was once a man, standing against a post, wrapped in striped cloth, barely clinging to his bones. His face is hollow, eyes sunken so deep they seem to belong to another world. He doesn't raise his hands. He doesn't speak. He simply looks at them, as if unsure whether they're real. Behind him, another figure emerges. Then three. Then dozens. Skeletal. Faces drained of everything but the instinct to keep breathing. The soldiers freeze. These are not refugees, not prisoners of war, not even civilians caught in crossfire. Or, Corporal mutters, "Bose moi." God. Shapiro approaches the nearest man, gently lowering his rifle. "Who did this to you?" he asks. The survivor tries to answer, but the words collapse into frost. Instead, he lifts one trembling arm and points not toward the gate, not toward the barracks, but deeper into the camp, toward the chimneys. The smoke drifting skyward suddenly feels colder, because in that moment Shapiro understands. Something happened here that bullets cannot explain. Something so monstrous that even war itself has not prepared them for it. One of his men steps toward a warehouse and stops dead, eyes wide, face drained. "Major," he calls, "You need to see this." What the soldiers find inside will twist their stomachs and haunt their sleep for decades. And it is only the beginning. Snow swirls through the open doorway as Major Shapiro steps inside the dim warehouse. But even before his eyes adjust, the smell hits him. Not the smell of death he knows from the front lines. This is different, sweeter, older, wrong. Shoes, thousands of them. Small ones, worn ones, children's ones, piled in dunes that tower over the men. Next to them, suitcases with names carefully written on the sides, coats, spectacles, prosthetic limbs, combs, brushes, objects that belong to people who clearly expected to return for them. A young lieutenant stumbles backward, nearly slipping on the icy floor. "These are civilians," he whispers. Shapiro nods stiffly, though every instinct in him resists the truth forming in his mind. As they move deeper, they find another room, another pile. This time the lantern flickers over something so grotesque that the men go silent. Hair, human hair, baled, sorted, packed like cargo. One soldier retches into his scarf, another crosses himself, even though Soviet regulations frown on such gestures. Shapiro forces himself to look. He must. Someone has to bear witness. But the worst discovery waits outside, beyond the warehouses, past rows of barbed wire and watchtowers that now stand as mute witnesses to unspeakable cruelty. A survivor tugs on Shapiro's sleeve, pointing with bony fingers. Crematorium. The soldiers follow him, boots sinking into ash-covered snow. Then they see it, the long brick building, its chimney still leaking thin strands of smoke into the gray sky, the crematorium. Inside, the temperature is warmer, not with life, but with the fading heat of fire. Metal stretchers, ashes, bones that were never meant to be seen. The machinery of mass death laid bare. A private runs outside, gasping for air that doesn't feel poisoned. "Major, how many people? How many were?" His voice breaks. Before Shapiro can answer, a cry echoes from one of the barracks, raw, panicked, human. The soldiers race toward it. Inside, they find survivors too weak to stand, men staring blankly at the wall, unaware rescue has arrived. Women whose eyes hold stories no human mind should contain. One little girl, no more than 6, reaches up and touches a Soviet soldier's coat. Whispering a single word, the soldier drops to his knees and begins to sob. For battle-hardened men who've stormed trenches, crossed minefields, and watched comrades die, this is the moment that shatters them. They realize Auschwitz was not a camp, not a prison, not a labor site. It was a factory for erasing people. And somewhere inside this sprawling hell, deeper than anything they've found yet, lies the place the survivors fear most, the place they can barely describe without trembling. The gas chambers. The survivors hesitate as the soldiers move deeper into the camp. Even the bravest among them, men who survived years of starvation, disease, and terror, refuse to follow beyond a certain point. They stop outside a squat concrete building, its walls thick, its windows barred, its door reinforced with steel. One survivor shakes his head violently, backing away. Another whispers a phrase in Polish, voice trembling. This is where they killed everyone. Major Shapiro grips his rifle, though he knows no enemy inside is still alive. The dread he feels is something no battlefield ever taught him. The door creaks open. Soldiers step inside. At first, the room is shockingly plain, bare walls, low ceiling, a floor that slopes gently toward a drain in the center. A corporal frowns, it looks like. Shower room. Then he looks up. Embedded in the ceiling are metal fixtures, not shower heads, no water pipes, just blank openings, designed for one thing. A cold understanding crawls through the room like a shadow. Gas. They used gas. Soldiers freeze, breath shallow, as they imagine what happened here. The door slamming shut, the lights going dark, fists pounding on the walls, mothers shielding their children, the screams lasting only minutes before silence suffocated everything. The next room steals the breath right out of their lungs. Furnaces, rows of them. Iron chutes feeding into fireboxes still warm from their last use. Ashes piled beside them like sand. A Soviet engineer kneels and lifts a handful, falls through his fingers like gray snow. He realizes he's holding the remains of thousands. No one speaks. No one can. Then a soldier notices something behind the furnaces, large wheeled carts and wooden hooks. Major, these we're used to. Move bodies. The words sound unreal, as if spoken in a nightmare. It's daylight. They are awake. And they know they have only seen one complex. Auschwitz, another one remains. Birkenau, the largest part of Auschwitz. Where the smoke the soldiers saw earlier still rises from the chimneys. Shapiro squares his shoulders, voice low and cold. Continue. But as they head toward Birkenau, they pass a line of abandoned train cars on the siding doors. Wide open, floors covered in frozen straw, claw marks still visible on the inside panels. One soldier runs his hand over the grooves. He pulls away as if burned. The realization is unmistakable. People were transported here like cattle, families torn apart the moment they arrived. Those deemed unfit marched directly from the train tracks to the gas chambers. Some never lived 10 minutes on this ground. As the Red Army approaches Birkenau's endless rows of barracks, its towering guard posts, its vast killing infrastructure stretching beyond what the eye can see, a heavy truth settles in their chests. This is not just a camp. It is an entire world built for extermination. A world someone tried to hide, because in the next barrack, through the broken windows, soldiers see something that makes their blood run colder than the January wind. Piles of documents, burned, partially destroyed. The SS fled in haste, and whatever they didn't burn is still here, waiting to expose every name, every command, every record of crime. Shapiro stares at the smoking papers, jaw tightening. The Nazis tried to erase the evidence. But they failed. Now the Red Army knows. The world has not merely been at war. It has been living beside a crime against humanity unlike anything ever conceived. Ahead, a scream echoes across the snow. The survivor has found something. Something buried. Something the Nazis didn't finish burning. The soldiers run toward the sound. The scream leads Soviet soldiers behind a row of collapsed barracks, where the ground as disturbed snow melted away, earth churned into a muddy, ash-black pit. A survivor kneels beside it, clawing at the frozen soil with shaking hands. He is crying not softly, but with the raw, broken wail of someone reliving a memory he spent years trying to forget. Major Shapiro's men rush forward. What is it? What did you find? The survivor steps aside. At first it looks like a mound of charred debris. Then the soldiers see it. Bones. Thousands of them. Mixed with ashes, half-burned fragments of bodies, twisted remnants of clothing, even teeth glinting faintly in the pale winter sun. The ground itself is made of human remains. The sergeant stumbles backward, covering his mouth. Another mutters, "This is impossible." Impossible. But they all know it's real. And this is the place where the SS tried to finish their work before fleeing open-air pits, where bodies were burned when the crematorium furnaces couldn't keep up. A survivor speaks in broken Russian, pointing down into the pit. Z's, Milyani. Here, millions. The numbers feel unreal, but the evidence is undeniable. Before Shapiro can speak, another soldier shouts from across the yard. "Major, we found something." The unit gathers around a pile of canvas sacks hidden behind a storage hut. Inside them, paperwork, bundles of it, transport lists, registry logs. The soldiers stand in stunned silence. The Nazis documented everything. How many arrived? Where they came from? Who was sent to labor? Who was sent to die? Corporal picks up a sheet names of children no older than 5. Next to each, cause of death. The listed reasons are lysis, exhaustion, heart failure. Every soldier knows the truth now. Most of them never had a chance to live longer than ours. A harsh wind sweeps across the camp, rattling the metal roofs, carrying the faint sound of crying from the barracks. The Red Army continues deeper into Birkenau, and the scale grows even larger. Endless rows of wooden huts, their interiors nothing but straw, disease, and suffering. Guard towers looming over the scene, empty now, but stained with years of cruelty. Barbed wire stretching to the horizon, enclosing a world built for death. Soldier kicks something half buried in the snow and bends down. It's a doll, handmade, small, missing an arm. The image hits the men harder than any battlefield site ever could. Then they reach the largest crematorium, complex crematorium too. The doors are smashed open, the SS having tried to destroy it before retreating. But the soldiers can still see the tracks where bodies were slid into the ovens. Still see the metal fittings meant to hold dozens at once. Still smell the lingering stench of burned flesh. One soldier whispers, "How can humans do this to other humans?" No one answers, because the question has no answer. Then, from behind the crematorium, a faint voice. A cough. Weak, barely audible above the crunch of footsteps. Shapiro signals for silence. The soldiers listen. Another cough. A whisper. Someone alive. They sprint around the corner, and there, beneath a broken stairwell, half buried under debris, lies a man. Skin stretched over bone, eyes barely open. Breathing shallow, but breathing. Survivor the SS missed. Shapiro kneels, lifting the man gently. The survivor tries to speak. One word escapes. Danka. Thank you. The Soviet soldiers look at one another, shaken to their cores. This man wasn't rescued from a battlefield. He was rescued from hell itself. But the most powerful revelation is still ahead, because as search teams sweep the perimeter, they uncover the full scale of Auschwitz's purpose, hidden beyond the barbed wire borders. Something even larger, even darker. A place meant not only to kill but to erase entire nations. Beyond the barbed wire fence, beyond the barracks, beyond even the crematoriums. The Red Army discovers something that dwarfs everything they've seen so far. Fields. Acres of fields, covered in ash so deep the snow cannot hide it. An officer kneels, scooping up a handful. It is not soil, not dust. It's human ash spread intentionally, systematically. For months, for years. Shapiro's men stand in stunned silence. This is not just a place of murder. It is a place designed to erase entire peoples, their bodies, their identities, their existence. Auschwitz wasn't just a camp. It was the final phase of a plan to eliminate millions. As the soldiers move through the far outskirts, they find the railway platform, the infamous selection ramp of Birkenau. Half-burned paperwork lies scattered around the tracks, signs in German marking left and right, two paths that meant life or immediate death. A young Soviet private stops in his tracks, staring at the metal siding of a train car. He runs his hand over deep scratches inside the door. Nail marks. People had clawed at the wood, begging for air as the trains carried them toward their fate. The private pulls his hand back, trembling. He has seen villages destroyed, comrades killed, families separated. Major Shapiro places a hand on the young man's shoulder. Nearby, a group of survivors gathers, wrapped in blankets the soldiers brought from their trucks. They stand around a small fire, too weak to speak, too traumatized to process that liberation has come. One woman clutches a scrap of paper and an old photograph of her family. She stares at it, then at the soldiers, as if asking whether she is really allowed to hope again. Another survivor grasps Shapiro's coat and whispers, "Zapishit pravdu." The world cannot look away from this. The world must know what happened here. As reports flow to Soviet headquarters, the stories sound unbelievable. Gas chambers, burning pits, medical experiments, extermination on an industrial scale. But the photographs, the documents, the survivors. Within days, the truth spreads across the globe. Journalists arrive, pale and shaken. Doctors break down while treating the liberated prisoners. Diplomats weep upon seeing the evidence. The world finally sees Auschwitz for what it was, the darkest chapter of human cruelty, a factory of death, a place where over 1 million innocent people, Jews, Poles, Roma, Soviet Poles, and countless others, were systematically annihilated. Yet in the center of this darkness, one fact glows like a small flame of humanity. The Red Army came, and they opened those gates. And for the first time in years, the prisoners of Auschwitz looked at the world and saw something other than hatred. They saw liberation. They saw life. Soviet trucks rolled out of the camp carrying survivors to safety. Many soldiers turned back for one last look at the watchtowers, the barracks, the chimneys still smoking in the bitter January wind. They knew this place would never leave them. It's not in their memories, not in their nightmares, not in the history books. Auschwitz had changed them forever. And in that moment, the Red Army understood. They had not only liberated a camp, a truth that would ignite a fury so deep, so righteous, that it pushed the Allies forward with renewed determination.